It's harvest time! So apart from a few cold weather flowers like these pansies right here and kale and evergreens, the winter weather can be really tough on our plants, including the herbs that we want to grow. But there's an easy solution for that, guys, and that would be having your own hydroponics growing system indoors for the winter. Today we're going to go ahead and do some harvesting, and this is at 60 days. And I'm so excited to show you guys, so come on in and take a closer look. If you have never been here before, my name is Marlene. Welcome to my home and garden channel. So this is how it all started here with the cilantro, basil, and oregano. Those are the ones that I'm growing. And the LetPot company was nice enough to send me a growing system to review here. And I did 2 previous videos on this last year. And we're following up today with a 60-day harvest just to show you how it came out for me. This right here is the oregano, and one thing I'll say, guys, is when you're going to be reaping or harvesting your herbs, make sure you do it before they flower, because when they flower, the flavor is not as nice. As a matter of fact, sometimes some of them, depending on what they are, they can be bitter. This right here is my basil. You can see how wonderful it is looking, and this at this point was the second harvest, and it's just looking so robust. I'm also be going over 8 tips plus a bonus point as to how to have success in using your hydroponics growing system. Over here we have some cilantro, and they look absolutely wonderful. They're so healthy, and in the beginning the cilantro seemed to have been doing the best, and then the basil took over at a later time. But just to say that you can grow other things in there. You can grow like strawberries in there. You can grow the smaller types of lettuce in there. You can grow peppers. You can grow cherry tomatoes. It just depends. As long as it's not too wide like a cabbage, they can fit in there and it's perfectly fine. So I was quite happy with the cilantro. You can see how fresh and healthy they're looking here, nicely formed, glossy leaves and everything, the sign of health. And normally if your plants aren't doing well, you can tell just by how they look. Just look at how wonderful the leaves are shaped here, guys. I just absolutely love how it turned out. So we're going to go ahead and take a look from the start to see where it started, and it will go through all the different stages. So this is how we started here. And basically what you want to do is just to put at least 2 seeds, no more I should say, than 2 seeds in there. You can put 1 if you like, but just to put 2 just in case one doesn't work and the other one does. And then you stick it down in there. And I do actually have a video that's going to be in my winter indoor gardening series that I'm going to link at the end to show you a step-by-step of the complete setup of everything. But right here, now this was just a few days, maybe like about 4 or 5 days in it. It had already germinated, and that was the basil at that point. And you can see how it's looking there. And then I went in and just took off the germination cover, being careful, of course, not to damage the those seed leaves right there, because if those get damaged, then it's pretty much over for your plant. And they also have germination caps that have to come off as well. And this is going to be a part of my winter indoor garden series, so be sure to subscribe so you can follow along with the upcoming videos to see, how it's going, the different things that I'll be covering. And I'm so excited to do this, guys. So over here, this was what they were looking like at about 2 weeks in. You can see that they look very promising. You can see how nicely shaped the leaves are for the cilantro, and the basil just looks so nice and fresh and healthy. Oregano is smaller, so of course it's going to have a smaller look, and that's just the nature of the plant. So it varies by plant. So let's take a look at tip number 1. And the first thing is to use clean tools. So you're making up the solution or you're harvesting them, you want to go ahead and use things that are clean. And it's just because they're in water, just the way they are, you want to make sure that they're, nice and healthy. So you can always wash the scissors, before you use them, especially if you're using it on something else. Or you can even use like some hydrogen peroxide solution and clean them off, and then just go in and get them, ready to go. The next thing is to use good quality seeds. These are the ones that I got online, and I'll link similar ones in the description box below for you if you wanted to try those. But just get good quality seed, guys, because you only put 2 in each sponge, and you want to make sure that you're going to get the best from it. So it's worth the extra money to get some good seeds, put them in there, and just get going with the process. So that would be number 2. Now, number 3 would be to make sure that you monitor the water level. And it does not go down that often because like when they're like maybe the first 30 days or so, you maybe check it maybe once in a week and a half and it's still fine. But as they get larger, like you see how large these are here, you have to check it a little bit more frequently just to see how they're doing, because you don't want it to dry out and then your plant gets dehydrated and it's gonna die, because it's pretty much water and the liquid food that's in there for them. Number 4 would be to use the plant food correctly, which means that you want to use the proper proportions. And they tell you all the details on the back. Whether you're using the metric system or the American system, it tells you exactly how much to put in the container to get it going at its best. And of course, you have your measuring cup. You use all of those things to make sure that it's, as precise as you can be. And the next thing, number 5, would be to use clean water, especially to make the food, because the bottle of food that you make, A and B, those typically last about 3 months, maybe 4 months. So you want to make sure that the solution that you're using, over that period of time is clean and it's going to stay that way. Moving on to number 6, and that would be to use stakes if they're needed, because most of the systems, they come with them. This one came with it. And when they're younger, they may want a little bit of support, but as they get older and they get, wider, then they tend to hold up on their own. So I'd say stick them if you need to in the early stages. And then I just left mine there for the whole time. You can take them out if you want to. It doesn't hurt to just leave them there. So, and you'll see that depending on what it is, you may or may not need it. Like the oregano did not need staking. And just to say, if I do outdoor plants, lots of those when the weather warms up. So be sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell twice if you have never done so before. I do my uploads on Thursdays, but sometimes there's a few sprinkled in between. So be sure to click on that button. So next we move on now to get some more harvesting done here. And, I just go in and take off the ones that are more towards, like the outer ones, so that the inner ones can come up. You can see the basil right there, how they're looking so healthy and fresh. But I'm going to go ahead and work on the cilantro and just get these off. And I normally have my little basket and I just, get a paper towel. You're not seeing it in this, right here, but that's what I do, and I just place them on there as I go along, and it works out so well. And it may seem like you're taking a lot off the plant, but I'm telling you guys, something happens when they get to 60 days. It's like they just take off, and it's like, I just keep reaping so much. Even if I had, I didn't buy this one. It was gifted to me as a collaboration with a company, but it pays off very quickly because I'm telling you guys, you reap so much. Every time my sister comes by and she gets them, she says, this thing really pays for itself. And I said, yes, it does, especially for the cilantro in the initial stages. Oh, my goodness. But then the basil took over, and it was the same story with the basil, just constantly reaping. And what I do is I freeze them. I put them in the freezer so that way I have them for a long time. Or if you like, you can even dry them and then, ground them or grind them into powder. You can do it that way. And it smells so, so nice, especially the oregano. When you handle that one, oh, my gosh, I think that's my favorite of all the three as far as how nice they smell. And I use them to cook a lot, in so many different dishes. It just works out so well. But it depends on what you prefer to use. You can pick whatever you want, decide. And there are little holes in there. There are 12 of those, the little baskets. You can decide how many you wanted to use. In this case, I used 9 of the holes. I didn't use all 12 because I wanted them to have some breathing room around them. And what I'm going to do for the next time that I plant them out is I'm going to put oregano towards the front because they cascade over. They don't grow upright. And I know it's going to be very beautiful seeing them towards the front. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, the next thing, number 7, would be to make sure that you put the timer on. And if you're not sure how to use it, you can ask your kids or your grandkids to set it up for you, the timer, because you use your phone. And it's a smart system, so you can use your phone to do it. And it controls it that way. And even for smaller kids, for the smaller children, this is a great learning experience for them. And I'm telling you, when they eat it, I should say when they grow it, they're more likely to eat it, right? So this is a good way to have them to have herbs and certain types of vegetables in their, in their food, because they'll be more inclined to have it if they took part in seeing it come from just a tiny seed and grow up to something like this and constantly reaping it. So definitely worth the time to have your kids, especially if they're younger, get involved in this process. So that's pretty much the harvest for right now. And I'm so pleased with it. And honestly, guys, in another few days, I'll be back getting more again, because again, at 60 days, it just takes off, and it just kind of like, it just keeps giving and giving and giving. So now we're going to go ahead and take a closer look at how they look after the harvest. You'll see that there's some droplets of water on there, but that is perfectly fine. That's just the plant's way of healing itself. So maybe like in another 24 hours or so, you'll see that it calluses over and it looks perfectly fine. So now we go on to tip number 8, which is to make sure that once you have harvested everything, you want to bring the level down a little bit closer to the plant, so it's not kind of like stretching or reaching for it. If you are going to be traveling, then you would just leave it right where it is and they'll come up, because when they start to really grow fast, they'll get there in no time. But other than that, you'll want to bring it down. So that you can get, the maximum amount of light from it. Now, time for the bonus point, guys. And the bonus point is that you don't want to have it too close to the light, because that's the other extreme. Because like the cilantro, it was growing so fast, guys, if I didn't pay attention, like in two days, it already grew up and started touching it. These didn't get burned as much, but like your basil, they really will get burned from the light. So you just want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on it, and you just, prune them accordingly, so that way they'll be okay. Now, some people say that they have, and I guess this is probably another bonus point, but some people, they say that they get algae in there. This is just basically old leaves that I'm cleaning off right here. If that's happening to you, you can always take some foil paper and cover over the top right there around the stem of the plant, but that was not my experience for the most part, so I just left them as they were, and it was perfectly fine. But you do have that option if it's something that happens with yours. And again, just try to keep it clean. If you can, just try to use water that's filtered and boiled, or at least boiled, so that way the water is good and clean. You don't have to worry too much about the water quality. And this plant is just a gift that keeps on giving, so I highly recommend it. I'm very pleased with it. Thank you again, LetPot, for sending this over to me. It's been a year and it's still working very well. I will link the products below for everything that you may need, whether you need like to get something, that's been used up already, like the sponges, or if you need anything like, new germination covers or anything like that, or even a LetPot if you've never bought one before and you wanted to get one now, then I'll put all of those in the description box below for you. I do want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll return for my future videos, and I hope you'll have a happy winter indoor gardening. Winter is here, but you can still grow things. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.